To let me know when we're ready.
We are all set and ready to go.
So thank you, Joretta. All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is the February 6th already, 2025 meeting of the Public Works Facilities and Sustainability Committee. I am joined tonight by, let's see, I'm going to just go across my screen here and see who's all here. We have Councillor Carol Anderson Blanks. We have Town Manager Rick Ledwith, Councillor Tiffany McGinnis. We have Councillor Mark Sedanowitz, Director, Public Works Director John Phillips, and that says Rick Ledwith, but that is most certainly Facilities Director Bob Palmer. We have Mayor Sherry Cantor, and we have, I think that's Catherine Deviney. I apologize because it says Mark, and you're in a small screen here. And I think, is that the other Catherine? Bronze? Is that okay? There we are. Sorry, I apologize. All right. So I call this meeting to order, and we will go ahead and get started. Our first thing is business items and approval of minutes. We have minutes from January 9th, 2025. Do I have a motion to accept and approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I was not at the meeting, so I can't second it.
Well, then I will second it. And do we approve, Carol?
I do. So yay.
Yay. Thank you, Carol. All right. Communications. Manager Ledwith, do we have any communications?
Just a quick one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to everybody. And as we are sitting here this evening, you can probably hear our public works crews just outside my window, keeping town hall clean. And just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge their efforts, not just today, but through this winter. Thinking back to Martin Luther King Day and the weather event that we had that evening before and the morning of our MLK celebration, our crews did an outstanding job of cleaning our streets and ensuring that weather did not get in the way of anyone wanting to honor Dr. King here at the town hall that morning. So, and as we look at the forecast for the next week, as we were talking before the meeting started, we do have a few more snow events heading our way. And I know I speak for all of us when I say I appreciate our crew's efforts and the tremendous amount of pride that they take every day, keeping our roads safe and clean during any weather that we face. So a big thank you, of course, to John and his entire Public Works team. So thank you, guys. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me say a few words there. And I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. And I mirror those comments and thank the Public Works crew for all of their hard work. And I'm guessing that we will probably this weekend have another parking ban coming up. And I urge everyone who is listening to heed those requests to get our vehicles off of the street. Makes it just so much easier for the clearing to take place. I'm sure that Mr. Phillips will be telling us more about those efforts in his report coming up shortly. Actually, segue. It is now time for staff reports, and it looks like Mr. Phillips is first on the list. So we will pass it on to Mr. Phillips, please. If you
well, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chair, Councilman Walters. Thank you very much. Yeah, Public Works has been. We appreciate the kind words. Again, I am just their talking head in these moments of time. They do all the work. They put the effort in. It's a team effort between the guys out on the streets and sidewalks, as well as anybody that works within the facility. They're all caring for all their town properties, no matter if it's a small PTO or PTA event to our bigger events that the town manager mentioned. So we take that work with a lot of pride, and we try to get it done as best and as efficiently possible, and maximizing our skill sets and all the resources we have available to us. So everybody should have the report that's been uploaded. Again, we're in the middle of winter, so really we're, other than fleet maintenance, who does the same work really every month, every year of every year. We're really scaled back at any projects. We're just doing really high-end maintenance stuff, pothole patching, which this year you can see the frost in the road or your sidewalks. It's very evident. It's if you don't know what frost is, just look down a road that's cracked. That's frost, and the heave is pushing the street up. And so we'll deal with that for the remainder of the winter into spring as if warm temperatures start coming up and thawing some of that frost out. I'll just draw your attention to our department notables. And starting with streets, we have implemented a brine system. I think the town manager mentioned that in one of his comments at a council meeting. We're very early in the stage of implementation. The crew is still learning best management practices, but we have a system and we have 4 trucks equipped to put out a liquid brine. So liquid brine, just for a quick education, the activation of a liquid material is faster than a granular salt. Where salt takes a little bit longer to dissolve before it actually starts working as a de-ice material. The brine starts at de-icing attributes much faster. It does reduce your overall salt usage. In a full program, you can reduce your salt by as much as 30 to 50%, depending on the size of your program and where you apply it. And so with that reduction, you have a cost savings from purchasing very expensive tons of salt. And also there's an environmental impact because you're not using as much salt, granular salt, to have the same effect. Brine adheres to the surface better. So you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it on the highways. I think we highlighted it when we put it out for the first time in West Hartford. The white lines or the whiteness of a parking lot before it snows, that's adhered to the asphalt. And so that prevents the snow and ice from sticking to the road. Today's storm was actually a great example of that because we had a snow, a sleet, and then a freezing rain. We had a lot of success where brine was used, where there wasn't a lot of contact with this moisture, the frozen moisture in the road. And when the trucks come by and plow it, it peels right off and you get to a clean road surface faster. So again, another efficiency in not having to go back out and retreat the road with granular material. And so overall, it improves your program as another tool in your toolbox for anti-icing applications. So we're happy that we're playing with it for right now, but we would intend to grow that program as years go on. On the grounds end, the winter time is the time we always take advantage of the hard ground, the frozen ground, and get into some areas that we can't get at typically with our heavy equipment for tree maintenance. We completed a very comprehensive pruning at Walcott Elementary School in recent weeks. We moved a lot of hazardous trees at Rockledge Golf Course and removed over 40 stumps that were there for many years and just hadn't had the ability to get in there because of the past winters we've had. And also they're part of that implementation of brine in school parking lots, park parking lots, and a lot of our sidewalk systems. Municipal parkings, we already talked about. We did launch the app. We actually used it today. We're trying to see if we can see how many hits we get on our parking finding app, but we're able to put alerts on there. And today the alert was on there for the parking ban. Again, the comments from Councilman Walters, the parking ban is very important to us. With the cooperation of West Hartford PD, we're seeing better and better compliance. I think more people will pay attention. And I'm sure as we continue to have snowstorms, the compliance will go up because awareness is getting out. And we also want to give credit to the blue light system, which we hope to expand and put in other neighborhoods. We think that blue light system on Farmington Avenue, east of Trout Brook, is being effective because I think the local streets see it, and it just reminds those that there's a parking ban on during those storms. Again, the report's full of a lot of comprehensive information on parking financial data. It reflects December's. We're still calculating our December 25 numbers, so it shows our December numbers. December is a very strong month from a revenue standpoint, but the revenue just shows use of our parking lots. So it's a direct reflection of utilization of our on-street spaces and off-street spaces, and it really is a good economic indicator of our center. And December was certainly strong in that area. Overall, the department on a couple other bigger projects, we're still working to implement an online time and attendance system. We'll actually be really close in the next few weeks to where the employees will actually start beta testing it. And we're challenging those employees that are volunteering to use the system to try to break it, show the system not working, maybe missing an hour or missing a callback. And so we can make sure the script is written correctly. It matches union language as far as how what areas and what levels of pay they deserve for the work they do. So we're excited about moving to that next step, and to hopefully be fully implemented by mid-spring of 2025. And we're moving along on our EVSE replacement program. If you haven't heard, we did not get the federal grant. No application in the state of Connecticut was awarded. So we're going to have to shift gears and move on from that grant and look at other ways to fund that project. But through the council last month, we approved some funds through the ARPA funds to replace the existing EVSEs that we have. And we've made 6 applications where we do plan to do upgrades to Eversource for our reimbursements. And that project is moving along to replace those charging stations. And shortly we'll be coming to the council, the committee first, with a policy on charging fees for those parking stations as well. We're working on that internally before that report's final will come to you. And that's it. I'll be happy to answer any bigger, higher level questions on public works activity over the last month and a half.
Great. Do we have any questions from the committee members?
Councilman Waters, I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Through you, Chair. Mr. Phillips, I noticed, I want to say on Kaya, and I just wanted to ask the question, especially since I also hear the plows out there now. For those residents who don't adhere to the parking ban, do we reach out to public safety? How does that work? And the only reason why I'm asking the question is because as I went down Kaya and getting ready to get on the highway, I noticed that there are quite a few cars, and I can see where the plow, was kind enough and was trying to go around. But also because of the weather that we had today, I know that ice is up, and that can be problematic. Could even probably, I would imagine, could destroy our equipment when more snow drops, and we're trying to remove that. So, if you will.
Yep, I'll be happy to explain it. First, I guess parking bans are very difficult. It's an industry issue in general. It's a cat and mouse game, but not to make joke of it, but it can be a cat and mouse game in a lot of ways. They're near impossible to fully enforce because of the magnitude and size of a community like West Hartford, or any community that really needs them. Hartford, New Britain, Middletowns, water areas, we all put them in place for the safety of our drivers, and obviously the goal of clearing the streets from curb to curb. So we do have a great cooperation with public safety. We can call them if we need to. They do go out proactively in the high sensitive areas where we need them. Where we need to be proactive and have the cars removed before we get really busy in our plowing activities. And when I say high sensitivity, roads like Farmington Avenue, we have a traffic island. Your arterials, where we use larger trucks with the big wing plow that comes out to the side. It's important that those corridors are opened up, and so we can get through freely. Those streets are important to us because they move the most traffic at any point during a snowstorm. Certainly they get busy fast after the snowstorm has cleared. And then we focus on areas where we can't navigate at all. So that's where we put our efforts. We probably just don't have the resources to scour the town and ticket and tow every single car that's out there like what you've seen on Kaya. If the driver is able to make it around it, that's our first attempt. We'll toot the horn. We'll try to make some activity and maybe generate some interest in what's going on, and maybe somebody will move their car. And that actually does work in some of your neighborhoods. But generally speaking, if the driver can get around it, we've got to continue on and do our job. But if the driver can't, we know we got the support of the police department to come out and exercise the appropriate enforcement that's necessary. I hope that answered your question. But you also mentioned about the road. So where it does get concerning, especially for a week that we're looking at, and I think all of us can see local media, we have snow this weekend, we have snow again early next week. You do run into a situation where you get a road shrinkage, because we'll have to continue to plow around that. We won't have time to go back to a street where a car is moved. And quite frankly, we won't even have knowledge if the car is moved or not, right? And but that spot of snow will still remain there. Now you hope for daytime temperatures maybe to melt it off a little bit and kind of push that back a little bit. But when you have multiple storms, you do run the risk of closing the road up a little bit, road shrinkage. And again, that'll still be a call from Public Works to Police Department to help us maybe enforce those streets a little stronger, so we can take action appropriately. It's not a good process. A ticket and tow is not inexpensive, so we try to use that as a last resort.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you both for the question and the answer. Do we have any other questions? I think I see Councilor Zidanowicz's hand up.
Yes, thank you. Through you. I was wondering you mentioned the priority pothole fixing outside of plowing stuff. How's the priority of the of who gets there first? Like what pothole gets fixed first? Is it first in, first served? Is it a safety priority? School crossings? And I only say that because I've actually had two neighbors come up to me that walk dogs in the neighborhood, and there's a crosswalk that goes down to the school, and they apparently both called in. So I didn't have the right answer for them. So I'm just wondering if you can help me with that.
Yep, absolutely. It's a great question, actually. So the best way to reach us on a pothole is use the report a problem system. That automatically generates a service request, and it gets delivered via email and our work management system to the repair team that's responsible for doing pothole patching. So that's our first, if you would, driver to do work. We certainly have proactive teams that go out there and just scour the important, our arterials first, secondaries, and then we get into our neighborhoods. As far as we talk about crosswalk areas, again, that needs to be reported to us. Those are ones that we just won't see without the public's help. To steal a phrase from our friends at Public Safety, see something, say something is very important for that type of maintenance. And then if we have our workload, we have a considerable amount of potholes to address. The prioritization is obviously the most busiest streets and the severity of them. Where if they're directly in the travel lane or a vehicle, obviously if it's in a crosswalk that gets reported to us, that would be be a higher priority, because this community does walk. It doesn't matter the weather. It's still a walking community. We think we do a good job at keeping up with it, especially the ones that we know about and that are reported to us. What happens in these stretches, though, is because of the snow and stuff, we're taken away from doing that work on a daily basis because of our prep time for storms and then the post-prep work that we have to do after a snowstorm. So, for instance, we probably won't get back to pothole patching until late next week. And the potholes that are out there, unless they are super severe and an immediate safety hazard to the traveling public, the potholes probably won't be addressed too timely.
Thank you. And if someone were to report it via phone versus the report a problem email, is there prioritizing for that?
Nope.
Does it get?
So when you call in, the front office staff opens up the same work order that's in the report a problem system, and it gets funneled the same way to the maintenance team that were to be responsible for it. So there's no prioritization trumping, if you would, by calling versus using the system.
All right, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, I had a question.
Oh, yes, Councilor McGinnis.
Through you, Mr. Chair. John, I had your voice cut out for a second on my end when you were talking about the electric chargers. Did you say that the state didn't get any grant money? Is that what, and we didn't get any grant money? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's correct. So the CFI grant is a federally funded grant out of this Department of Transportation. There was 2 phases to it. We did not apply to phase 1. The criteria in that phase 1 of grants really didn't fit our community or what we were looking for. And then there was phase 2, which we applied for. The state of Connecticut received some federal funds under phase 1, which was almost a year ago. Phase 2 was issued the first part of this January, and the state of Connecticut or any municipality that applied for CFI grants on the federal level did not receive any grant awards. So, basically Connecticut got skunked in this round.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you both, and I'd like to acknowledge and welcome Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd is now on the call. I have just one question, Director Phillips, and that is regarding the brine versus the liquid brine versus the, I guess you could call it salt crystals or salt. You mentioned that it can you could see a reduction in usage of 30 to 50%. How does that translate to a cost savings? Is that it? Is that the cost savings, or is that the amount of material used?
So that percentage would be the amount of the material used. We haven't done, we're not in it that deep to do a real cost analysis of what we're saving on a cost wise. That percentage is on reducing the amount that you put out in granular. So right now, granular salt costs us around $99 per ton, where we can make liquid salt for a third of that cost in-house, or even purchasing it for a lot less because it's concentrated. So you don't need it, you need less to do the same kind of activity. So that's what we'd be looking at right now, is just working towards a reduction overall. So I'll give an example. We go out on a pre-storm basis, we pre-treat the road. Up until now, we've just pre-treated every road with granular salt. We're doing selected roads and parking lots with the liquid. And so that's already, we're seeing about a dozen trucks that don't have to go out and put down the granular material. Just in the few times that we've been playing with it and using it, getting used to it, right? It's just a tool. It is just a tool that everything we have to do. You'll never eliminate granular application because when you get into a heavy snowstorm, where you have heavy meal, which is that 1 inch, 2 inch that stays on the road, that slushy material, if that binds up, your liquid salt's not going to break that apart. Your granular has to be applied on top of that to penetrate through and make that break, if that makes sense. But we're excited about the tool, and as we use it more, we'll be able to do a better cost analysis and see real savings. But we know in the industry, those are really pushed and lean forward on this application process. The savings are real and get realized. And obviously the environmental impact, when you're using less of a very corrosive material, there will be a savings on the environmental side.
Well, I think that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Being able to save a little money and lessen the impact on the environment. Win-win. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you to those who asked questions. Are there any others who had a question? Okay. We will go ahead and move on then. I believe up next is our facilities update. Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. Daily operations, our buildings, school, and towns continue to perform well with no major issues encountered in the last month. We did have that pretty significant cold spell, and we had no issues during that period, which was good news. So we're very pleased with that. I still have one part-time position on the town side that has remained open since our last meeting. So update on the new Elmwood Community Center. The existing building at 100 Mayflower is still there, still being utilized on a limited basis for police training and fire training. But we have disconnected the building utilities at this time, and we're no longer heating that facility in preparation for the demolition. So the demolition design is pretty much complete at this point. We're in final review of that. We're hoping to go to bid later this month with that, and then get the demolition started this spring. That would go probably about a month and a half, and probably bleed into the summer a little bit. So as far as the architectural design for the new facility, we have just completed schematic design at this time. We're just reviewing that final design. I do believe that the which committee, there's a, Rick, help me out on which committee is getting in that review.
It'll go before the Human and Community Services.
Right, Human Services, right.
February meeting, so in a couple of weeks.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's February 26th. It's tentative at this point. So that's at that point, the architects will do a presentation and present the schematic design of where we are, give an update where we are and where we're going with the project. The building had changed. We did the feasibility study almost a year and a half ago now. So there was some very preliminary designs in that. What we are looking at right now is very different. So the building has shifted locations in order to accommodate traffic, parking, and flow within the site, but it works very well. So they've done a really nice job with that. So we're very happy with that. We're continuing the hiring process for a construction manager. We have completed interviews. We are working on an award. We're also doing this. We've completed interviews also for an owner's representative, and are in the process of making an award on that. And commissioning agent is going to go out to bid shortly, if it's not already out to bid as of today. So, moving on to capital projects on the town side, animal control facility. We did receive bids. We are scheduling the low bidder for a pre-award conference where we go through their bid and ask questions and look at their credentials and everything, just to make sure that they're capable of doing the project, that they understand the project, and they have everything that was required in the project for the price that they're giving us. So that'll happen in the next few weeks. The fueling station at 705 Oakwood, it continues to be in design. Again, we're getting very close on getting ready for the demolition for some of the existing buildings on that site to make way for the fueling station. So, fire training tower, we're working with the fire department right now on a design that's going to meet their needs. So that's continues to proceed. Public safety facilities assessment, we're waiting on that final report still. We do have a little bit more work to do with them in order to get that. Townwide generators, we are proceeding right now with fire station number 1, getting a generator onto that building. That building does not currently have a generator. So we want to get that one done. It's a high priority. So we are proceeding with that at this point. Town hall restroom and lobby renovations are still in design. Town hall office renovations, we're currently just finishing up the planning department. We're in the very final stages of that. We're just really awaiting furniture and the installation of that. And then we can get the planning folks back into their new spaces and get our conference room 217 back online, as it's been used for temporary offices for the last 6 months. Fire station miscellaneous improvements. We've begun one project at Fire Station 1. We're refinishing floors there right now. We've done half of it. Then we'll do the other half of it next week. We're also wrapping up design for stations 2, 4, and 5. For Station 2, which is Brace Road, we're doing redesigning the kitchen for that facility. Station 4, which is Albany Avenue, we are doing a kitchen in that space, and we're also creating individual bunk rooms for the firefighters. At this point, they just have an open bunk design room, and we are creating individual spaces for them in that project. Fire Station 5, which is on Berkshire Road, we are doing redoing the restrooms for that facility, and we are also working on replacing the roof of that firehouse as well. So those are all wrapping up in the design process, and we should be out to bid probably early March on those. So on the Board of Ed side, we continue with our fresh air projects at both Duffy and Webster Hill. Duffy construction continues. We'll continue through this summer. Webster Hill, we did a final design review a few weeks ago. We have a few changes to make. We're getting ready to go to the state for review because we have state grants on that project. So we have to get we have to do a review and approval from them before we can go to bid. So we're hoping to be out to bid later in the spring. I don't think we'll see any construction at Webster Hill this summer, unfortunately, just because of long lead times. But once we get out to bid and get awarded and get things ordered, then we can work with the contractor. A lot of the work for that project will be in the tunnels underneath the building. So we think we could probably work during the school year off shift, doing work in order to help that go along. And then in the 2 summers, that follow in 26 and 27 just do a lot of the window replacement and other intrusive work in the classrooms. So auditorium seating at King Philip continues, just an ongoing process. Still got Aiken Playground. We're still waiting on equipment, very long lead times there. The roof replacement for Bugby, we are going to state review next week. Then we'll be out to bid shortly thereafter. Brayburn and Whiting Lane are in the subsequent years afterwards. We're queuing those up for the same processes as well. Hall kitchen, kitchen serving lines, Hall is out to bid. We did put that out to bid last summer. We didn't get any bidders, last spring, I mean, so we didn't get any bidders. So we're hopeful that we're out early enough so that we will be successful and get bidders. Restroom renovations at Hall, we had the same problem. We'll put that out shortly again. We're in the process also of designing restroom renovations for main office relocation at Woolkett, which has been delayed, is going to be going out to bid shortly as well this spring. So we're doing lots of big projects, a lot of other little projects that we're doing as well, but things are going very well. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Do we have any questions from committee members? I see Councilwoman Blanks, apologize.
Thank you.
I try to say counselor rather than
This
assign a
is
gender.
It's all fine. Through you. Just a quick question. Just a quick question for you, Mr. Palmer. And in your experience, what would be some of the reasons why you would receive no bidders for the hall, kitchen?
You know, the number of contractors out there and tradespeople has greatly reduced since the pandemic. So there's a lot less people out there doing their work. So that's, I think, really the main reason is just there's, you know, their schedules fill up and that's it. So when you go to bid after March, I think you're in trouble if you're trying to get something done in the summer. So
okay.
So,
Thank you, sir.
and again, we're in, you know, and especially in the school environment where, you know, it's a 8 to 10 week period. Everybody, you got 169 other towns doing work as well. So it's very, very competitive. So
yeah. Okay. Thank you. All set, Mr. Chair.
I'm sure with the proximity, it's a regional issue as well because we're all so close to one another, so they're all competing for the same few folks to do the work. So, are there any other questions for Mr. Palmer? I don't see any. All right. You're off the hook, Mr. Palmer. It looks like Mr. Phillips got all the questions tonight so far. So we'll move on to Catherine and Catherine.
Thank you. So we prepared a little report for you with some of the highlights. I'll speak to some of the things on there that are mine, and then I'll turn over to Catherine Bruns for any of the recycling and food waste initiatives. So just to run down, last time we had this committee meeting, Dave Sagers, the chair of the commission, presented to you all their report to town council. So I just wanted to let you know they were excited for that presentation and they are working hard to move forward with some of their priorities that were mentioned in the report, including the Cool West Hartford Residential Engagement Initiative that was at the top of their priority list. They asked me to kind of check in with you and see if any of you had any questions about the report since last time. And they also would like to inquire if there was a process to share their report with the whole council. So I don't know if we want to discuss that now. We can wait till the end. Do you want me to keep going?
Well, the entire council has seen the report. Yeah. But in terms of questions, the council can certainly, if they had any questions about the report, obviously they asked some questions that evening when Dave was here presenting. So I turn it back to Mr. Chairman for that piece.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. I was just going to put it out there to see if there were any questions. I personally do not have any, but there are a few of us on this evening, so I open it up to them. And I'm going to guess that silence means no questions. So we'll go ahead and move forward.
Thank you. I apologize. I don't know what the procedure is for something like that. So moving along, the commission also asked me to pass along that at their last meeting on January 27th, they discussed and decided, unfortunately, that they don't have the capacity to organize the wonderful Earth Day Family Festival, which they held last year. But it does seem that the mayor actually came across an opportunity from earthday.org, which would be around the same time, for a potential event, which could be a collaboration between the town and the commission, to hold a kind of town hall style forum about energy. So maybe we will pick up those discussions. I know that Dave Sagers, the chair of the commission, and Mayor Cantor have already had some discussions along that front. I also just wanted to mention, I have been participating in a federally funded energy class program, which is a collaboration and learning exercise with 60 school districts across the country. We also are tapped in, whether it's through planning initiatives or even some project funding, to some of the other federally funded energy and environmental programs. And with the current administration changes, there is some uncertainty about the continuation of that funding and some of these programs that the town is working with state partners on, and even receiving some funding from. So I'm keeping an eye on that, trying to get some answers, but some of the emails that you email have actually been turned off. So it's sometimes challenging to get some answers to your questions. I did want to let you all know, and this is something that if anyone's interested in, I can talk more to them about. The town's energy broker, Bridge Energy Services, who has been serving the town and the city of Hartford for several years, is spearheading an initiative and trying to garner support for House Bill 6800, which is aimed at enabling, and again, this is enabling legislation. It does not commit towns to do anything, a program called municipal aggregation. And municipal aggregation is something which allows cities and towns to kind of provide potentially more efficient or cheaper energy and energy efficiency services more cheaply and more efficiently than some of the utility programs that are offered today. And a lot of municipalities in other states have the option to do that. In the state of Connecticut, legislatively, you cannot even do municipal aggregation. So again, this is enabling legislation, and it was up in the legislature a couple of years ago, but there's a kind of big resurgence, and people are asking that if towns as a whole or individuals would like to get behind this initiative, I'm happy to answer questions on that. I did want to let everyone know that the utility budget for fiscal 26 is now complete, and it looks like the budget for next year will be practically the same as this year. We'll be able to keep a flat utility budget, even in the face of some rising electricity rates. So that's good news. One thing that I just recently am working on is every year the town makes an annual renewable energy credit purchase. This supports some of our commitments to buy green power and some of our commitments under programs such as Sustainable Connecticut and the US EPA's Green Power Partnership. So that adds a small cost of about $20,000 or 0.5% to our utility budget to support green power. And then finally, the only other one that's on here that's mine is after about 2.5 years in the waiting queue of Eversource's non-residential solar program because of capacity requirements. There's always a long waiting list for projects, but our replacement solar projects for the roof of the Department of Public Roofs. And the picture you'll see on my summary is actually the old array, which still shows up on Google Earth. But we're going to kick off. We have a brand new roof on that facility, and we're going to put solar back on it. And that project should kick off and be installed by spring or summer. And I will turn it over to Catherine, I guess.
Hi, everybody. It's Catherine Bruns, Recycling Coordinator. I have a few updates. I'll talk about food scraps and organics first. I'll start with the schools. I think I mentioned last time that we brought our second to last elementary school. We were going to bring the second to last elementary school on board, Walcott Elementary. So they're now 3 weeks into diverting their food scraps, and the kids have really figured it out and are excited about it. I've done a little bit of social media that's gotten thousands of views so that people across town can see what our kids are doing, the kind of signs that they're looking at, and encourage parents to ask their kids what they're doing in school. And then in the middle of it, Bristow, who I met with the principal before, said they wanted to start. So they just started this week. The principal asked all the students, raise your hand if you've seen this before, and the majority of the kids in the cafeteria at that time raised their hands. So that's pretty exciting. So they knew what to do once the signs that they were familiar with were there. So that's terrific. I'm going to go, still sort of involved with Walcott, but I'll go take a look at Bristow soon. And then one great thing about the Sustainable West Hartford Commission is we have 2 youth members of the commission, one student from Hall and one student from Conard. And the Conard student representative, Catherine and I invited Catherine and me to go speak to their environment club. And they were so interested to hear all the things that were going on in town. And then the head of that group us the other week and said she'd spoken with the principal and they want to see if they can figure out bringing food scraps right to Conard. So I'll set that meeting up. So that's pretty exciting that these 2 young people attend the meetings when they can, and bring this great energy back to our schools. So that's something we're really hoping for. And then on the town program, the carts are ordered. There'll be, I think I mentioned this last week, there'll be 4 drop-off locations. I can list them if you would like. There'll be an app that's associated with them that's for free, but it just helps us monitor contamination, check the volume in different places, see if we need to add a cart or if a location's not getting a lot of volume. So we're looking to the Waste Working Group in the Sustainable West Hartford Commission is going to help with some educational rollout. And we're going to have a meeting about that with people who are interested in helping with that outreach. We're hoping for a start and a rollout around Earth Day in April. So that's what we're aiming for. And then we've finalized the final draft of a new recycling flyer that will be mailed to everybody in town. I'm excited about that. We worked with a designer who helped us work with a lot of the material for the pilot program, and he's done a great job of sort of rethinking about how we want to send the message about what is and isn't recyclable, in addition to having all the other outlets in town where material that is recyclable but not necessarily allowed in our blue carts, where residents can take that all on one piece of paper. So it was quite a feat. We met many, many times, and I think we've just about come to our final version. I think that's it.
Catherine, a real quick question for you. Can you remind us where those 4 locations were for the food scrap? I know that it's been said several times, but for the benefit of everybody listening and watching.
So there'll be one in Town Hall, just outside the main entrance. The place has not been 100% decided yet. One in Eisenhower Park, near where the current trash and recycling barrels already are. One at Norfeld Field, which is on Boulevard, near Town Hall Boulevard in Trotbrook, and then one at the recycling center.
Excellent, thank you. Were there any other questions for our duo here? And I'm hearing silence again. Any questions?
I have none. I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Blanks. Councillor Zdanowicz, are you?
I'm good, thank you, Chair.
Great. Okay. If there are no other questions, I thank you, Catherine and Catherine, for your report. All good stuff. And I guess at this point, I will check in with Mr. Ledwith and see if there's anything that you'd like to add.
I am very happy to hear Mr. Vinny's report of the utility charges for next year. That's awesome. So thank you for that good news, Catherine. But nothing further from me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, it is unfortunate that we do have some grants that seem to be perhaps held hostage, but we will see what we can do and move forward the best we can. And if there's no other questions or information, I think we're to the end of our future agenda items. And you just said there's nothing there, right, Mr. Ledwith?
So future, well, as we head into March, we will, yeah, we have to, I think the next meeting will be before the budget presentation. So we'll have one more meeting, and then we'll have the following meeting will be dedicated to our public works and facilities and sustainability budgets.
Excellent. We will have a good time discussing all that good stuff.
We will.
All right. All right. Well, then we will go ahead and move on to adjournment. And the time is 6:50 by my handy watch here. I will go ahead and do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And I think we all say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening. Stay warm.
Good evening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.